On July 15, 2024, RTHR tweeted, "Can't say for sure, but he might be the first VP pick to have admitted in a New York Times bestseller to f***ing an inside-out latex glove shoved between two couch cushions. Vance, Hillbilly Elegy, pages 179 to 181. This is the Museum of Twitter, the show we talk about the most important tweets in the history of Twitter.com. Okay, I know I say that all these tweets are important, but this tweet was important, like, geopolitically, because it started one of the most inexplicable political hoaxes of all time. But in some ways, I feel bad calling it a hoax, because it wasn't supposed to be a hoax. There was no real malice behind it. This was a joke tweeted by RTHR that just got out of hand. But what's the context to this? So RTHR tweeted this the day that J.D. Vance was named Donald Trump's running mate in the 2024 election. J.D. Vance at the time was a senator from the state of Ohio, and he gained notoriety writing a book called Hillbilly Elegy that was eventually turned into a movie. Hillbilly Elegy was a New York Times bestseller, which became really big after Trump's first election because it was a way of white liberals trying to understand white people in Appalachia. I've never read it personally, but from everything I understand from people who actually are from that area, it does a bad job of that. But it tells rich people exactly what they want to hear. And so that catapulted J.D. Vance up in Republican politics. But what the popularity of this hoax reveals is that not many people actually read Hillbilly Elegy. Because if a lot of people had read Hillbilly Elegy, this tweet would not have taken off as much. Because people would be like, I've read Hillbilly Elegy and I don't remember that. But I think a lot of people said that they read it, or maybe they watched half the movie. But since no one read it, people all took this as if it was true. That J.D. Vance put a latex glove in between couch cushions and got to work on it. Obviously, the reason people thought this was real is because RTHR takes the time to give, like, a citation. He puts Hillbilly Elegy in italic text, which is not easy to do on Twitter. And I think a lot of people, including myself, read this and thought, well, obviously, if it's not true, why would he put pages? We could just look it up. And I think the answer was that he thought it was so patently ridiculous that everyone would know it was a joke no matter what he did. But I think everyone had the same reaction, which was like, I'm not going to bother checking myself, but obviously, if he did the work to look it up, it must be true. And so lots and lots of people legitimately started to believe and to spread the rumor that J.D. Vance got busy with a couch. Specifically, a couch with a latex glove in it. It started off a little slow, like people like D. Tobias pointing it out, adding, I'm so glad that this is coming from a guy who claims he's all about family values. And within 2 days, enough people took it as gospel that RTHR made a collage of people thinking it was real. I'm not going to go through all of these, but these 2 collages show that lots and lots of people took this as if it was absolutely real. And I'll be honest with you, I took it as if it was real. Now, I figured out it wasn't real within a few hours, but definitely the first time I read it, I'm like, that does seem like something J.D. Vance would do. And that, of course, is why it, like, took off as a thing. Because I think most people in the world, even people we don't like, if we were told that they admitted in their book to putting a latex glove in between couch cushions and getting to work, I think it would be like, nah, that doesn't sound like something that they would do, and definitely not something they'd admit to. But honestly, I'm not saying this as a joke. I'm not saying this because I hate everything about J.D. Vance and what he stands for, although I do. I'm like, yeah, that does seem like something he would do. And yeah, I would believe that he's disconnected enough from normal people that he thinks that's a normal thing to admit to. Obviously, this isn't true, and I did believe propaganda, and I should have done better, but like, it doesn't feel out of character for him. And so that's why it took off so strongly. Because you can make up a random salacious rumor about any politician, but if it doesn't pass the smell test, no one will go with it. But J.D. Vance exhibits every characteristic you would imagine about someone who would do that to a couch. I'm not gonna go through it, because honestly, I don't feel like looking it up, but a lot of people on the left were like, oh, we shouldn't stoop to the level of the right and making up lies. And maybe it's because I'm talking in July 2025 as J.D. Vance is the vice president of the United States of America, but like, who cares? Especially because by the time it really became super mainstream, everyone knew it wasn't true. Within like a week, it became more of a joke than it became an actual thing people thought about him. Although I think I did enjoy is that the Associated Press did a fact check saying that it wasn't true, but then they had to retract it because while they could say that it was not in a Hillbilly Elegy, they could not say for a fact that he did not do that to a couch. And people criticized them for that, but I think that that's good journalism. And as it became more understood that it was a joke, people tried to double down on it and make it seem real. Like someone photoshopped an actual page from Hillbilly Elegy to make it look like it's the page that he mentions it. But I would say by the end of July, everyone was on the same page. Like, this is just a funny thing people are saying about J.D. Vance. But obviously the highlight of it as a joke was when Tim Walz mentioned it in his first speech after being named Kamala Harris's running mate. And I know people who are critical of this who said that he stooped too low. And objectively, I think you can make a case for that. But look, I cannot look you in the eye and tell you that I was not hooting and hollering when I heard him say this.
I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So...
For the first few weeks of J.D. Vance being the running mate, him and couches were inextricable. Like Tommy Vitor of Pod Save America said, if you're the Trump aide who has to explain to the boss why J.D. Vance and couch is trending, please take detailed notes. History will thank you. Now, I was not in the room for that conversation, and I also would be fascinated to learn Donald Trump's reaction, but I honestly think his reaction probably would be like, so did he do it or what? Because there's no way that he would understand the concept of someone making up a quote from a book for a tweet. Some of the better jokes at the time were people like Wes Bester tweeting, it makes sense when you find out this was J.D. Vance's couch growing up. Jared Gilman, the kid from Moonrise Kingdom, tweeted, J.D. Vance won't see your mean tweets, but a guy with a couch fetish probably also won't see your tweets, because he's too busy with the couch, so it's okay, keep posting. And Ben Collins, current editor-in-chief of The Onion, tweeted, experts say J.D. Vance never the couch. But some concerned Americans in this Iowa diner believe otherwise, mocking the way that political press is. And honestly, I would have thought this joke would have died down after the campaign. But it brings me great joy to say that people still make jokes about this all the time. Like last month, John Moffat saw a couch on the side of the road and said, "Somebody left this perfectly good couch by the side of the road. It looked like the perfect girlfriend for JD Vance, so I'm having it crated up and shipped to DC. I think JD will appreciate a more mature mistress and allow his wife more free time." And last week when JD Vance was booed at Disney and was running away from people booing him, Scary Larry captioned that video, "When JD Vance sees a particularly attractive couch." Look, if JD Vance is going to be JD Vance, be as smug and annoying and evil on the world stage as he is, I think we deserve to have at least this. We deserve to be able to make jokes about what he did or didn't do to a couch. Because ultimately, if he did do to a couch what this tweet is saying he did, it would not even rank in the top 50 worst things I think he's done. Like whatever, do whatever you need to do to upholstery in your spare time. I would gladly trade you ruining every piece of furniture in the vice president's mansion if you stop, like disparaging and destroying the lives of immigrants. Follow me for a new tweet every day, and please consider joining my Patreon, patreon.com/museum of Twitter, where you get to vote when I cover from Subscriber Sundays, and you get a weekly bonus episode called the Museum of Not Twitter.